Life is really strange. My grandmother, Ma Ramsey, and Paul Ramsey lived in Crosby, and just happened right next to them lived Flora Mae Stuckey and her husband. And I recall we would go up there on Sundays, and I was 4 years old, and Ma Ramsey walked out. We had a driveway on one edge of her property, and on the edge of the house, the Stuckey house adjoining, had a driveway. So there were two driveways. She walked out in the driveway on Ma's side with a little baby, and I was 4 years old, and I walked out and looked at it when the little girl was 2 weeks old, and that was my wife. And I saw her when I was 4 years old, and she came to Highlands, and she came to Highlands to watch a ball game, and I happened to go over to see it, and I had a little Crosley at that time. It was really a big deal for me, a car. It was a real small one, and I got she and another young lady to go down and have a Novell, and went down to have a drink, and I just looked at her the whole time while I was in there, and not Novell, and I recall that very vividly. And so we wound up as, we were in Crosby, and Glenn Miller, I think it was, went in the drugstore and asked her, says, Charlie wants to go with you. You want to have a date with him? And so I didn't ask her myself. I had somebody ask me. I was too scared. And so she did. And we went into Houston. Gene Miller and Bobby Lamb at that time, they were married. We didn't know it at that time, but they were already married. And so we drove into Houston and saw a movie. And, well, first we went up on the San Jacinto River and had a watermelon feast up there, cut it, picnic, and came back down. And then they got dressed, Farrell went to Bobby Lamb's house, changed clothes. We went to Houston and saw a movie, come back. It must have been about 1 o'clock. The car broke down coming home. And at that time, the old Chevrolets had hook handles that you push down to open the door. Well, Mom had just wore a brand new dress that her mother had made her that day, and her sleeve hooked in there. I came around to let her out of the car, ripped her brand new dress off. Whole sleeve went all the way up to the collar almost. So she was much upset about that. She was going to never go with me ever again. And it just happened that the next 31 days, we saw each other every evening at 7 o'clock. I was there waiting for her. She got in Houston from school or working, whichever the case might have been. And Ma would make a new dress, and she'd be sewing on the buttons when I got there. So I'd have to wait for her to finish sewing on the buttons. But we had a standing date every evening at 7 o'clock. And so that went on. And as I was still in college, and I had my senior year through that, and Mom worked at Exxon, and so she put me through my college. I worked my senior year. I went.
I'm not Mom.
My wife, Farrell. I called her Mama, and she said she's not Mom. But Farrell went through, worked at Exxon, and put me through that last senior year. I went Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, and worked the other 3 days to help out with money. So on our honeymoon, we drove to Monterrey, Mexico. I had $67 and $67.50, I believe. And we went to Monterrey, and we stayed 3 days, and I spent $55 on our honeymoon. We came back and started our married life. I'd already paid the $30 rent for a garage apartment, and fortunately, she had a tremendous shower, and they gave us everything that we needed except a mop and a dishpan, I believe it was. And Alice, Don's wife, came by and asked what we didn't have, and I said, well, we had got a mop or a dish mop. She went down and bought us a mop and dishwasher. We had everything we needed. we didn't have to buy anything, but we came back from Mexico and started a married life. I was finished my last year at school and worked 3 days a week. We were just happy we had good sense, so.